Hi, I'm Susan Avery, and I'd like to tell you about some of the laws and policies affecting education in the United States. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a landmark piece of legislation that outlawed discrimination against racial, ethnic, national, and religious minorities and women. The bill, as called for by then-President John F. Kennedy in June of 1963, was to end racial segregation at schools, at work, and in establishments serving the general public. In November of 1963, JFK was assassinated, and the new president, Lyndon Johnson, pushed for the passage of the bill. It was finally signed into law July 2, 1964, after nearly a decade of nonviolent protests, student-led sit-ins, and the March on Washington in 1963, where Martin Luther King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. In 1965, as part of the War on Poverty, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act was passed. This federal law funds primary and secondary education in the U.S. and emphasizes equal access to education, establishes high standards as well as accountability. The Civil Rights Act was amended in 1972 to include educational institutions. Through Title IX, teachers are protected from the discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace. It also gives teachers academic freedom to teach without restrictions on content of subject matter. However, these freedoms are somewhat limited. Content has to be relevant and consistent with the teacher's responsibilities. And teachers are not allowed to promote a personal or political agenda in the classroom. They are not allowed to disrupt the educational interests of the school district. Teachers are even allowed to run for public office and join professional organizations, but their participation must be independent from their responsibilities to the school. Also, under the First Amendment and Title VII, teachers are protected against religious discrimination, but they cannot teach their religious beliefs in public schools. Teachers also have limited rights to personal privacy, and schools can take disciplinary action when a teacher's private life affects the integrity of the school district. In 1990, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act was another federal law that was enacted to protect the rights of students with disabilities. This act grants equal access to students with disabilities and governs how states and public agencies provide special education and related services. In 2001, President George Bush amended the Elementary and Secondary Education Act and renamed it the No Child Left Behind Law. This expanded the federal government's role in public education. In order to receive public funding, schools had to develop assessments in basic skills through annual testing at select grade levels, and it required schools to report back to the government on the children's progress. This way, schools could be monitored, and those that were not performing were subject to changes in federal funding. Teachers are also required under this law to meet the new highly qualified standard and to be knowledgeable about research-based testing methods. This put added pressure on teachers and schools and means that schools can no longer afford to keep ineffective teachers, which is a benefit for our children. Michigan's Department of Education and the State Board of Education have put into place a set of standards for educator excellence. In 2003, the Michigan Professional Educators Code of Ethics was brought about that all teachers in Michigan are required to follow. These include service toward a common goal, mutual respect, equity, diversity, and truth and honesty. These new standards in Michigan are a good thing. It requires teachers to have personal and professional integrity and to exercise sound professional judgment. One very interesting thing of note I discovered while looking into the laws of education was that the Michigan Department of Education issues a provisional teaching certificate for the first 3 years of a teacher becoming qualified. New teachers, by law, are required to continue their learning, mentor with an experienced teacher, and undergo professional development before they are issued a full teaching license. Finally, addressing the question of how all of these policies affect my teaching. Although I am not a full-time teacher, as a substitute, I do know that I have to be aware of my actions and my words and exercise good judgment at all times. From the Civil Rights Act to the No Child Left Behind law that makes schools and teachers accountable, to the Individuals with Disabilities Act, ensuring all children are eligible for a free public education no matter their ability to learn, it is the teacher's responsibility to treat each child equally and fairly while ensuring the children learn and meet state requirements. Quite a challenge, however, all of these rules and regulations have helped shape education in the United States, and they should not affect teachers in their day-to-day teaching. Without the federal laws and the funding it brings to the public school system, the day-to-day operations of schools are affected. Worrying about school finances should not be something a teacher is concerned about, but it is those federal funds that drive the education system in the U.S., keeps teachers employed, and what keeps our children learning. Thanks for listening. Hi again. I would like to apologize for the lack of visuals throughout this video. I uploaded the videos 3 times, and 3 times they were not there for me to edit. I was about to throw in the towel when all of a sudden everything appeared. Then, while trying to insert the images throughout the audio, the program would just not let me do it. So instead, I am putting them all in as a slideshow here at the end. I have probably spent over 20 hours working on this project, and I really need to move